Welcome back to the 2-Minute Warning. Today I'm taking a look at the Indianapolis Colts and going over whether or not I think the Colts should trade for Chicago Bears quarterback Nick Foles. But before we get on the topic, question for those of you viewing, comment down below, how many wins do you think the Colts will get this year due to the Carson Wentz injury? How much do you think this will really affect the overall team? I want to hear your record prediction. You'll kind of hear mine at the end. Getting straight into it though, if you're just kind of a basic NFL fan and wondering why would Nick Foles go to the Colts? Yeah, they lost Carson Wentz, but there's a chance of him coming back. The biggest reason being is that when Nick Foles took over for Carson Wentz with the Philadelphia Eagles, the offensive coordinator at the time for the Eagles was Frank Reich. And today, Frank Reich is the Colts head coach. For the Colts fans, that's no shocker by any means, but just for the basic NFL fans out there, that would be the intriguing point. Colts don't really have a quarterback. They have a quarterback that could be on the market, though, that has proven to have success within the front office that they are currently working with. So that would kind of be the intriguing point. Looking at the pros and cons, reasons you would want to do this is A, you don't know how long Carson Wentz would be out, and B, even if Carson Wentz does come back, he has an injury history. The guy gets hurt all the time. Even in his most successful seasons, the cat has yet to be able to close out a postseason on his own. He's been there several times or gotten his team there several times, yet he's unable to actually play through it. So Nick Foles is not a bad contingency plan. Of course, they're looking at Jacob Eason and Sam Ehlinger, the two current backup quarterbacks on the team right now, and they might want to be looking at that. But Nick Foles is a Super Bowl MVP, and he's worked well under Frank Reich's system before, and he's worked well when he's had a top offensive line before, a.k.a. with the Eagles and now with the Colts, who has a top 2 offensive line in the league. He's got a great run game to rely on, Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines, Marlon Mack. He's got solid receivers. Michael Pittman Jr. is probably going to step up. T.Y. Hilton, Zach Pascal, Paris Campbell, Jack Doyle, Wiley Cox. The Eagles didn't have this star-studded receiving room when they went there. They had talent, of course, Alshon Jeffrey, Zach Ertz, but still, it's not like they were what the Bucs have now or the Chiefs, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. Nick Foles can possibly get it done under Frank Reich's system with a great O-line and a great defense to rely on as well. That's what the Eagles had that year, too. This is kind of an Eagle system. Great protection, solid run game, solid receivers. I would even say the Colts run game is much better than a few years ago when the Eagles won it. And the defense is fantastic. DeForest Buckner, Darius Leonard, Xavier Rhodes, Kenny Moore, Tyquan Lewis, Kwity Paye, Ode Odubingo, some rookies. It's a good team that can go pretty far with just an above average quarterback, in my opinion. But looking at the cons, A, what is this going to do to Carson Wentz mentally? If the guy that replaces him is the same guy, but he goes on to have plenty of success just like the last time, that's going to mess with his psychology. That is just not a mentally good fit, in my opinion. If I was Carson Wentz, I'd rather my team lose than that guy come in and just get into my head, and then I could never turn my career around, because that's always going to be in the back of my mind. That's going to be a mental block. And the con is, what if Carson Wentz is back week 1 and you traded for him for nothing? You already traded Carson Wentz away for a 2nd-round pick and a 3rd-round pick. Do you want to continue to give up more for Nick Foles, and now you got to give up a 4th? If that, you might have to give up a little bit more. I mean, the cat's a Super Bowl MVP. A 4th-round pick, a 3rd-round pick, and a 2nd-round pick is all gone in the upcoming NFL draft, and now you only have a 1st, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Or if Carson Wentz truly does play the whole season, that 2nd becomes a 1st, and now all you have is a 2nd, 5th, 6th, and 7th. That's a pretty big downside that I don't know if that's the type of risk I'm willing to take if I'm the Colts. But obviously, it's an issue, or it's a determination of evaluating the situation a little bit more. Is Carson Wentz going to miss, half the season, or is he going to be ready for week 1? We know he's going to be, out preseason, but the expectancy of how long he will be out is 5 to 12 weeks. That's a very broad range where you don't know where you will stand. If he misses the first 7 weeks, you stand no chance with probably a backup in Jacob Eason or Sam Ehlinger. Unless one of them turns out to be the next Tom Brady out of the 6th round and he becomes the hidden gem, your luck's not going to be looking too good, and you're going to be facing in the first few weeks Seahawks, Rams, Titans, Baltimore, Miami, Houston. Houston's nothing to worry about, but the first 6 weeks you could be 1-5 with the backup QB, but you bring in a Nick Foles, you could be 2-4, 3-3. Nothing amazing, but a 500 record after a very tough schedule in the first 6 weeks, and now the rest of the way is the Jaguars twice, the Texans again, the Titans at home, and it's a completely different scenario. I think you should at least consider it. It's obviously a risk because I'm scared if you trade for Carson Wentz and then you get Nick Foles, that might just mess with his psychology, just having him in the locker room. I don't know how bad that messed up with Carson Wentz. I'm sure he's thankful for the ring, but does he really want to be replaced by the guy again? I know Nick Foles is somewhat open to it. He said in an interview, or I don't know exactly where it was said before, but it's quoted that he said he knows who Frank Reich is. Frank Reich's one of his favorite coaches in the league, if not his favorite. Frank knows who he is. If he wants to make a move, I'm ready. I'm in Chicago as of right now, and that's what I'm worrying about. But if he wants to make a move for me, here I am. Like I said, in my opinion, you're going to win more games with Nick Foles, I think, than Jacob Eason and Sam Ehlinger, unless you get the fluke miracle of having Sam Ehlinger be the next 6th-round Tom Brady or Jacob Eason stepping up. We'll just have to see what happens. If you ask me what I would do, I would just wait. The season's still a month away. I would see how Carson Wentz is feeling. It's still 4 weeks away. And you could evaluate Wentz a little more. Is he going to be back for week 2? If so, we don't need him. Is he going to be back for week 8? Then we might want to trade for Nick Foles. And like I said, even if you trade for him, Carson Wentz has an injury history. Just because he's back healthy now doesn't mean he won't get broken again. And now this past the trade deadline and you can't get Nick Foles or something like that. It's really a tough and sticky scenario. I just don't want to mess with my starting quarterback's mentality, mental block, psychology, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to mess with his head and get in his head and have him lose confidence of being an NFL quarterback and not being able to turn his career around. You guys tell me, though. I do want to hear your thoughts. I'm just kind of evaluating the situation. Really, for me, it would just be a patience thing to evaluate it again in 4 weeks. Right now, I would not be able to pull the trigger on that decision, and I don't think the Colts are ready also. I think they're waiting too. But if you guys get a different opinion, I'm open-minded to sway my mind one way or the other. If you got the right opinion, comment, take, whatever you want to call it, drop it down below and I'll take a look at it. I love replying to you guys. And refer back to the question today, how many wins do I think they get without Wentz? If he weren't to play the whole season, I'm betting they get 5-6 wins. But assuming he comes back reasonable time, not saying he comes back week 7, not saying he comes back week 1, somewhere in the middle, he comes back week 4. I still think this is a team that can fight for 9, 10, 11 wins. They're in a somewhat decent division to compete with. The Texans are free falling, and I think the Jaguars could be a problem in the future. But rookie Trevor Lawrence, rookie Urban Meyer, I'm not too worried about it now. It's a 2-man race with the Titans. So I still think they can win the division if Wentz comes back in a decent time. But we'll just have to see when he actually comes back. You guys tell me, though, like I said, as always, and of course, thank you for watching, guys. 2-minute warning.